American football in Finland.
This is American football in Finland. Today, I'm joined with my co-host, Q Floyd. What's going on, Q?
What's going on? What's going on? We back.
We back at it again. The AFF podcast is available on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, and wherever you listen to your podcast. Seriously, American football in Finland is currently available on 25 different platforms. So wherever you listen, be sure to rate us. Anything less than 5 stars will tell us that you are a hater. Okay, so we're season 5 of AFF. We appreciate all the support. We're going to keep this thing going. And before we get into the show, Q, how was your weekend, man?
Weekend was great, man. Weekend was great. Got a little beach time. But other than that, it was cool.
I was expecting to do some stuff 4th of July, got canceled, but apparently as a black person, I'm not supposed to be celebrating it anyway, so it worked out. But we did order some like wings and stuff from one of the fast food places, some wings, some onion rings, fries, all the fried foods. We felt like that was as American as we could be, is to just eat a whole bunch of fried food. So we did that, and it was good. So, man, that's the weekend. Let's get into the show. First things first, it's that time. We're going to say what's on our minds.
Get it off your chest.
I won't really say it's getting it off my chest, but it's a lot of tension. Speaking of the 4th of July thing, there's a lot of tension going on around the world. Yeah. And some people are uniting and some people are separating. And the main thing I want to say is I'm not here to persuade or do anything of that nature, but I just want everybody to be mindful and of people's feelings, emotions. Just kind of take the time to get to know the next person. You know what I mean? So that's the thing I want to say. Just, try to get outside your normal box and try to understand some other people that are from different places.
I feel like this is the topic that we're going to kind of use a lot during this season of episodes, because I mean, this is what's going on and we want to stay relevant and talk about this type of stuff. For me, same situation is there's a lot of things going on, and this is actually pissing me off, so I'm going to tell you my true feelings about it. Is I know a lot of Americans who live abroad, and at a time like this when the country is politically, racially, economically like at ends and divided amongst its own people, we need to be together more than anything. And I feel like right now there's a lot of Americans out here bad-mouthing America because they're in a different situation than those Americans. And for me, I take that as the coward's way out, Same thing is, and for me, as we've said on this show before, when it comes to like playing football, like if you can't beat a team, you just go to another team or join that team that was beating you. And that's how I feel like a lot of these Americans who are talking about all the negative things in America, yet they're not trying to change that or even be a part of it. They feel like they're better than who they are. I don't care where you're from or what you're doing. Where you're from is always going to be where you're from. Like you can't change that. You can't change your family. You can't change your nationality. You can get a passport or citizenship, whatever you want, but you are who you are. Like when it comes to me, I'm from Texas. I love Texas, but I also hate Texas. But I'd be damned if I let you say something about Texas. That's the same way that we should feel as Americans. And obviously it's a little more general, and other people from other countries don't understand how big the United States is, how regionally it is like segregated pretty much. But at the same time, when it all comes down to it, we're all Americans. And I know this is football in Finland, but there's a lot of Americans here in Finland too that aren't doing their part. And I'm calling you out right now that, hey, just because you're here doesn't mean you can't support and even empathize with those that are there. And we need to come together as people, all of us, and make sure that we're supporting each other and not constantly trying to bring each other down. Because I'm just tired of all the negativity. I want guys I want people to be more supportive. If you look at anything that I put on the internet, you'll never see me saying negative or derogatory things towards anyone. And it's not because I'm not human and I don't say things that shouldn't be said, but there's no reason for me to put that in the world. And if I'm saying something like this and you feel like it's negative, then you're obviously not listening. What I'm doing is saying that we can do better, so we should do better. And obviously, I'm going to get off my soapbox because that ain't what this show is about, okay? So I don't know why
No, you're right.
so long on that.
Sometimes you got to, sometimes you have to express that because obviously football isn't all life, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's times like this where we have to, even if it's this platform, you have to let people know sometimes that, how you feel. And that, like you said, you're human. We all have mixed emotions on the things that we're seeing on TV. People are posting a lot of stuff. People are saying a lot of stuff. And one thing that I will say my dad told me is whatever words that you put out there, just make sure you stand on them when it's time to. So for that's why I was like, whatever feelings or opinions you have, just make sure you stand on those at all times. When you're confronted about them, just make sure you stand on them. Make sure you keep the same energy that you had when you said it. Like so, but I agree with you. It's a time for us to unite more. If you don't want to, that's perfectly fine.
Yep.
We'll move on and try to get better without you. But like you say, this is obviously American football in Finland. There's a lot of Americans in Finland, so I feel where you're coming from. So let's just hope that we can have these uncomfortable conversations that people have been avoiding for years, and now they're finally starting to have these conversations. And even in Finland, a lot of interracial relationships and marriages are there. So these are conversations that need to be had also in Finland too, to try to better understand each other.
We talked about this last week. I'm going to talk about it again this week. 2020 is going to be a very unique Maple League season. It's shorter than normal. And instead of predicting like how the teams are going to do, we're kind of just going to talk to the teams and try to get an understanding of how they're feeling going into the season. So today we're going to talk to the Helsinki Roosters, who have won the last 8 consecutive Maple Bowl titles. I'm going to repeat this. They have won the last 8 consecutive Maple Bowl titles.
In a row.
Since 2012, the only team to win the Maple Bowl is the Helsinki Roosters. So that's who we're going to talk about. The Roosters, they're pretty much the king of the Maple League right now after winning 8 championships in a row. But 2020, it's a new decade, new hopes for their competitors, new aspirations for the young kids on the block. There's probably some D1 teams who are like, 2 years from now, we're going to take on the Roosters. But 2020, is this the year that the Roosters will get beaten? Or is this the year that the Roosters reach, as I'm calling it, Cloud 9 and get that 9th consecutive championship in a row? I'm not sure if that's the saying, guys. If Roosters, let me know what y'all got going because I haven't heard anything. I know 7 was 7 up, and I think 8 was great 8 or something. I'm going with Cloud 9 if y'all want to, trademark that. Roosters reach Cloud 9 this season, 9 consecutive. But either way, we're excited to find out. So let's talk Helsinki Roosters 2020. Before we get into it, we're going to talk to co-defensive coordinator, Kalle Karpinen, and let's get into that now. All right, we're here with Helsinki Roosters defensive coordinator, Kalle Karpinen. Kalle, welcome to the podcast, man.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
So Q's going to have the first question for you. Q, what do you want to ask this man?
Hey, what's going on, Coach?
Hey, all good, thanks.
All right, so my question is, it's safe to say that you obviously have one of the most talented defenses in all of Europe. What kind of expectations do you have for your defense this season?
Same as always. We expect to be good. We are completely national this year. We don't have any imports. I know there will be some imports, some pretty good quality imports in other teams' offenses, some really good national receivers also in the league who haven't been around for a couple of years in Finland. So I think it's a challenge for our defense, but I still expect us to be the best defense in the league and a very hard defense to play against. So nothing really new in that.
Well, Coach, my question for you was, with the season kind of being a shorter than normal this year, how will you plan to prepare your defense each week with so much like unknown about the offenses from week to week? because of all the new players, the different setups of how much film. You might not have enough film on guys to know tendencies and things like that. What are you planning on doing to like combat that challenge?
Yeah, I don't expect it to be very different in terms of off-season and preseason. We got a pretty good amount of work in before mid-March when we had to close down for a couple of months. So I think we basically could have been able to go on the field and play football in the middle of March if needed. And then, of course, we lost some of that because we were on a break for a couple of months, not really doing things. But after that, it's kind of just been reminding of the things we installed and practicing the things we did in the late winter and early spring. So I think we're in a pretty good place in terms of off-season and preseason preparation, despite having the long break in between. That's been pretty much compensated by the later start of the season and a good off-season we had in the winter. But then when we go to the week-by-week preparation in season, I think our first game is against the Steelers, who we've spent most of our resources scouting over the last two years. So I think we have a pretty good picture of what they are doing. Of course, they'll probably have some new stuff also going on, but that's a team where we have a reasonably good idea of how we go against them in the first game of the season. And then starting from that, we will be in a position where we have at least one game film for each opponent that we face after that. So that's not that different from a normal early season situation. We have some practice time limitations because you can only have a certain amount of people on the field, and usually in previous years we've always shared the field with another team, but now we can't share the field, which means that we have less hours in the week to practice. So I think that's the main difference, that we have to be able to put our things in during game week in a little bit less time than we have had in previous years.
Well, everybody heard that Edward Vestinen, aka Edu, signed to West Virginia, so he'll be out there in Morgantown. How does that make you feel as a coach when one of your players get to experience and have the opportunity to go play ball in college? Is it the same feeling as I would say like a father sending their kid off to college? Is that the same kind of feeling you have when you heard the news?
It's probably not quite the same as a father, and since I haven't really spent time in the Roosters junior program, that means a lot of these kids that go to the college, I've only had them for a year or two before that. It's probably different if you're a coach who has coached them for 5-6 years since they were 12 or 13 or 14 or whatever. So it's probably not that emotional for me, but of course I'm happy for any of our players getting to a higher level and getting to advance their career. And I think that's been a constant feature of our team over as long as I've been coaching, since 2007-8, that we've always had some players who leave to go to either Europe or US college or something else. And I think that's a good thing. I think that speaks good things about our program, that we're able to kind of generate those kinds of players. I don't mean that they're all generated by us. Of course, they're generated by themselves and their parents and the work they're done, and sometimes they've spent time in other teams too. But I think it's a good position to be in a program, even if you always lose your best players when they go somewhere. It's not the weakest players who go to US colleges, but I think you just take it positively, because it's a testament to quality of our program, and it might also be an attraction for future players to come to us, because we have a pretty good track record of being kind of a step towards bigger things, if that's what you want for football.
That's awesome,
Gotcha.
Coach.
That's awesome.
Yeah. The next thing I was going to ask you, Kalle, was speaking again about this season that's coming up and the defense. You guys have been pretty consistent over the years and having a stout defense with a lot of great Finnish talent. So people don't really expect to see a lot of differences coming into the season. but we know that there's going to be something different about the field and the makeup of the team. Could you just kind of explain a little bit of what kind of differences you expect to see on your defensive side this year?
Well, pretty much we're continuing with the same system we've had for a few years now, but we're always doing a little bit of tweaking during the winter, in incorporating some of the things you see in the bigger world, and then dropping out some of the things that we've had in the playbook but never really used or that haven't been so good for us. So there's always a little bit of tweaking going on in the off season, but it's a continuation of the same system. In terms of players, I think most of our defense is kind of carried over from last year. I think main changes in the backfield. Of course, Montez Lattimore, who was our import corner last year, will not be back this year. But we have Ville Valtteri Suojanen at safety as a new guy in our team, who I think is very, very good. Might be the best defensive back in the country. So I'm happy with that. But it does leave us in a position where if I take 6 of our best DBs, 5 of them are natural safeties, which kind of, then we need to think about a little bit of how we do, because traditionally we've played with 3 corners and 2 safeties in our base defense. So we've always had 3 guys who can lock up on man-to-man and so on. And now we're probably going to have 2 corners and 3 or even 4 safeties on the field. And that changes a little bit on how you think about doing different things, but not significantly. In terms of linebackers, I think we have a good carryover. We have Akseli Vartiainen in the middle, who has grown to be a very, very good linebacker in the middle. We have Santtu Äyräväinen, who still fills his outside linebacker role quite well. And we have actually quite a few young names behind them to also have some depth at linebacker. D-line, I guess, is maybe, I'd say that's the biggest change, because we've lost Edu, and also Camille Gruel will not be back, who played with us last year. And those were 2 very, very powerful defensive linemen for us last year. We still expect to have a good defensive line, and especially compared to the offensive lines we're facing, I think that will be an advantage for us. But we don't have quite the same depth that we've had. Like last year, we were able to field 2 4-man lines that were both very, very good. So we had basically 8 very good defensive linemen. Now it's not quite that deep, but I think it's still good enough. So I think we're just continuing on track of where we're being, and just tweaking a little bit as we go, depending on who we have available.
Yeah, I definitely. That sounds like a lot of. We're gonna keep doing what we're doing.
Yeah, and kind of. I mean, if you looked at our defense, we have a lot of stuff in. We can do 4-man line, we can do 3-man line, we can play with 5 DBs, we can play with 6 DBs, we can do single high man, we can do split safety cover 4. So we have a lot of tools in our toolbox, and then it's kind of a little bit year by year and even week by week, depending on if we have injuries and then who's available and who's the opponent, that what is emphasized in each situation. So advantage of having a big toolbox that basically we're running the same package every year, but there's a lot of tools in it, so we can lift different things out of it depending on what we need and what we have the resources to do.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's definitely the type of consistency that we expect from the Roosters, and of course you, Kalle, as defensive coordinator.
I'll add to you. I mean, you're calling me defensive coordinator, but I need to say that we are sharing the role this year with Sampo Ranta. I'm not taking all the credit. We're basically running my defense, but we will share game planning and play calling duties during the season to kind of.
That's awesome, because that definitely will ease the load on you a little bit and let him get a little bit more experience at a higher level, because I know he does coach for the national juniors team, right?
Yeah, he's been the coordinator in the junior national team. He's been a linebackers coach for us, and he's been involved in football for a long time and coaching football in different roles for a long time, and kind of I'm still happy doing the playbook and a lot of the installation off season, but then in season, if we can share our workload a little bit, that makes things a lot easier, I guess, for everybody.
But here in Finland, we actually had a summer so far. Like in the month of June, it was pretty warm and people were, out and about. And obviously you had your football duties to attend to, but were you able to, spend a little bit of this extra time with your family this summer? because normally during June, you're in the middle of the football season, but this year you're just, social distance practicing. So were you able to, spend time with your family and enjoy that?
Well, yeah, I've spent 3.5 months with my family basically, but obviously a lot of that time is just juggling between actual paid work and spending time with the kids, and of course also throwing in the football preparation in that mix. So it has been a time management challenge as always, with a little bit of different parameters than in usual years. But my 4-week summer vacation is starting on the 13th of July, so I expect to be able to relax quite a bit more there.
All right, Coach. We appreciate you coming on the podcast, and good luck to you and the Roosters this year.
Good luck,
Thank
Coach.
you very much. Nice talking to you.
So first thing we're going to talk about with the Helsinki Roosters is biggest changes that they have going into the season. Obviously, a lot of teams have different changes, but this Roosters team is very consistent on carrying over the same roster, the same coaches, but they mix it up a little bit this year. So, Q, what are one of the things you think are a big change for them?
I think one of the biggest changes is no imports. Like Coach said, they're going national. I think this is something that they've been wanting to try for a few years now, and actually have the opportunity to do it. To be able to see the Roosters without imports, I don't think it'll be a major difference for them. For the simple fact of the strength of their team is their unity as far as their local players. They played together so long, and even when an import comes in, it's easy for an import to adjust and adapt to what's going on in that Roosters locker room and on the field. The Roosters will continue to still go hard. They're motivated. They want to win every year. The coaching staff obviously preaches that. So I think seeing them without imports would be pretty interesting, just for the simple fact of I want to see those guys who may have been teetering a little bit on that, playmaker, consistent playmaker every game, level. And now they actually have to have that. I mean, also, obviously, a defense can play as a whole, offense can play as a whole, but there are going to be players that are expected to make those plays that sometimes the imports make. It'll be interesting to see, but I think that's the biggest change is just no imports. I mean, this is the perfect time for them to try that. And the confidence is there, which is another thing, too. They can actually go into these games feeling like they're going to win. They have enough. And there's no better feeling, I think, with any football team when you know, hey, we have enough to compete with anybody that we play. And I think that's a great feeling to have. So the biggest change will obviously be no imports, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. One thing that I think is going to be a big change also is the shortened season. And I know obviously that's a change for everybody, but for the Roosters, what we've seen in the past is the Roosters are one of those teams that they don't have major injuries to their best players. And a lot of that has to do with the way that they approach the season. They're off season. They're immaculate when it comes to, training and staying in shape, or what's it called, I guess, healthy training, whatever they do. They don't get hurt in the off season. You don't hear a lot about off season injuries. And during the season, you also don't have injuries. A lot of that has to do with the way that they approach the season. You usually see two halves or a slow progression. Even last season, the Roosters team that played internationally and then played at the beginning of the Maple League season, that team wouldn't have won the Maple Bowl. We all could agree on that. But that's not the team you got in the Maple Bowl. You got a more polished, more healthy team in the Maple Bowl that won the championship. And they've been known to do that, is, see the season in parts and play it to their strengths. With a short 5-week season, I'm interested to know, will they say, okay, well, we've got to give it our best all 5 weeks so that we can have home field advantage in the playoffs and then play in the championship? Or are they going to say, we're going to pick our games in which we want to go all out, and then the other games, if we need to rest people or do a certain type of substitution, we will, and we're confident that we can still win. I think in the past, they were able to look at the schedule and say, okay, at this time of the year, we can do this, we can do that, and we can formulate a full plan. This year, I don't think they have that luxury. There's 5 weeks. That's it. you can't really have a game that you don't play as good as you should. You can't afford to lose one game. I mean, technically you can, but they're the Roosters, so you don't want to lose one game and then only win 4, because then people will be like, well, you lost 20% of the games because they're only 5. That's just why I think it's a big change for them. I think we're gonna see a Roosters team that doesn't leave anything on the field, and that's not really something we've seen from the Roosters every season. And this is a perfect season for them to go out there with their completely finished talent and say, we're the best team in the league. So I think that's going to be something different about this team for sure. Anything else you think is going to be like a big change for them this year?
Nothing that's just alarming right now. Like you said, a lot of the players are carrying over. One thing Coach Kalle mentioned was him having in his secondary, natural safeties that are going to be playing. So I think the play calling on defense will obviously involve a lot of DBs, and they've been pretty much being able to use at least 2 linebackers, sometimes 3. So I won't really say that it would be a change. I think we'll just see more DBs on that defense than normal, and everybody else is gearing up to be able to beat the Roosters defense. So a lot of these teams are signing receivers, they're signing running backs. So the biggest change, we'll see how they match up and how coach, they call the plays against those offenses.
Yeah, and that even kind of goes to what you said about them playing without imports. How they match up will be different this season because of that. Normally they were able to get imports in certain positions and they can match up with those imports. Now they're matching up with their Finnish talent, and we're going to see, like you said, if they're real playmakers or not. It's exciting, man. It's hard to see the negatives about their changes. Like, it's just a lot of these changes are interesting and going to be definitely good for the Maple League this year. So next we're going to have another interview. We're going to talk with the new receiver for the Helsinki Roosters, Johannes Jauhiainen. I think I'm saying his name right, but I just call him Johannes. So let's get into that right now. All right. We're here with Helsinki Roosters wide receiver, Johannes Jauhiainen. I don't know. Man, I'm trying to say
Butchers.
it right.
That was the best one so far.
We're here with Johannes. I'm going to call you Johannes from now on. Wide receiver from Helsinki Roosters. Welcome to the show, man. It's good to have you on.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Hop right into it, man. I'm asking you the question that we all want to know. First of all, is what made you decide to play for the Roosters this year? Give us all the facts, all the information.
Well, basically, I know there's been probably some people thinking, if you can't beat them, join them. Yeah. But at the end of the day, it's a semi-pro league, and my life situation, brought me closer to the capital region. So I just thought that was the only choice for me at the moment.
Hey, now that makes sense, and people need to pay attention. Find out the goddamn facts. That's why we asked you, because I figured that you probably moved to the area.
Yeah,
you wouldn't just desert your team to go play for the Roosters. No offense, Roosters. We love you guys. What did you have to ask him, Q? We'll move on.
Being that you changed teams and went to the Roosters, what are your expectations for yourself as far as playing a role on this team?
I would like to be an impact player. I think I bring a lot of speed to the offense, and at least at the practice, I've noticed that they have designed some stuff that they want to use me. So I hope to live to all the expectations that they have for me.
Gotcha.
That actually fits into what I was going to ask you about. How are you fitting into the Roosters offense? Do you feel like it's a good fit for you and your skill set? And are they
Yeah, I do. There's some somewhat I would say is somewhat same as Kuopio had, the offense, I mean. And then there's a couple of new additions that we didn't have in Kuopio, and I think it's a pretty good fit for me.
Who influenced you to play American football?
It was actually a friend of mine when I was like in high school, I think. He just asked me, do I want to come to the practice because I've been playing like football, I mean like soccer for a long time. And I have
the real football.
Yeah. Well, some might say, but
right.
Real football for me is right now it's American football.
There you go.
But yeah, I didn't actually do any sports for like 2 years, and then a friend of mine just asked me, hey, do I want to come and try out this American football, because they had a team in my town back in Lappeenranta. They played Maple League too, but I didn't play in the Maple League team. Then they had some financial troubles, and the whole team went bankrupt.
They had a lot of problems out there.
Yeah. And when I started playing, we played second division in Lappeenranta, and just fell in love with the sport, the tactical aspect, the physicality, all that, just have been playing ever since.
Shout out to Lappeenranta Razorbacks. That's the new team. They started back up a couple of years ago, so hopefully they get their shit together this time. Shout out to, I think, Joel Soininen, I think is his name.
Yeah, Joel Soininen.
Joel Soininen. I was close, damn it. Y'all know what I was talking about. I was close, but shout out to you guys because they're doing good things out there in Lappeenranta. I spent a little time out there a few years ago myself. All right, last thing I was going to ask you, Johannes, was you're in the Helsinki area now, right? You said that you moved towards the Helsinki area. How are you liking the summer there this year compared to your normal summers in Kuopio?
It's pretty good. Actually, the town that I live in, Hämeenlinna, is it's a bit smaller than Kuopio.
You live in Hämeenlinna? I know Hämeenlinna.
Yeah.
I live in Lahti, man. I'm about an hour. I'm right outside Hämeenlinna.
Yeah, it's close. It's like a 40-minute drive from here.
Yeah, that's close.
But yeah, I like the city. It's a good place to live in because it's got so good connections to all the big cities, Tampere, Helsinki, Lahti. Everything is like an hour away. So if I wanna go somewhere and have the bigger city vibe, I can just go to any of those cities.
Q, you had anything else for Johannes?
Yeah, I got one last question. Who's prettier, Miro or Seth Peters?
Oh, that's a tough one. But damn, I gotta give this one to Seth just because he's younger. But Miro's got that old man charm, you know what I mean?
Yeah, he got the smooth guy charm. Okay. All right, yeah, that's it, man.
All right, we appreciate you, Johannes. Get on up out of here. Enjoy your weekend, man, and we'll see you out there. Good luck to you and the Helsinki Roosters this season.
Hey,
good
thanks.
luck.
Yeah.
All right, so that's our interview with Johannes, the new receiver for the Helsinki Roosters in 2020. Let's get into some obstacles against the Roosters this season. What are some things that you think are going to be in the way of them getting their 9th championship or reaching Cloud 9 this year?
Right now it's just the time. They have to come into this season polished or somewhat polished. You don't have enough time to figure your identity out with being just 5 games. So one of the obstacles will be just getting that chemistry fast, which shouldn't be hard for them because, like I said, a lot of these guys have been playing together for a while. But just the added players, they'll have to hurry up and find their place in this team. You don't get that option of having a bad game or 2 because that can mean your placement in the playoffs, and that's the difference between winning and losing a game. So one of the obstacles will just be being prepared mentally and physically coming into this season with it being a short season. That's one obstacle anyway. That's noticeable to me.
I'm gonna go out here and make some bold accusations. I'm gonna say Kuopio Steelers. I said it, and I mean it. I mean, obviously for the entertainment value, that's great, but I mean it. The Steelers, they're the team that, first of all, we're not gonna forget about what happened in the first game last year. So round 2, like they came in, busted Roosters in the mouth, and had the whole league on notice. And obviously, the length of the season kind of hurt them. For them, they don't have that issue this year. It's a short season, and they have a lot of travel games. But for the Roosters, this is a team that is built to beat you. They've built their team around how can we play similar to the Roosters enough that we can actually beat them on the field. And they showed weaknesses of what the Roosters' defense and offense shortcomings were last season. Now, this offseason, that team they got loaded up. Everybody knows it. It's the first time they've had I think we talked to Peck and he said they have 15 new players. So the Roosters have to go into this first week, play a team with 15 new players, probably a different defensive scheme because they change it like underwear out there. And you can't afford to say, oh, well, they beat us week 1, oh, well. Because it's not the same situation of, well, we'll get them back and then, play them no, this is it. Like we said before, every week is playoffs. The Kuopio Steelers are the most prime team. The rest of these teams, there's way too many moving parts. There's a lot going on. They might not. But the Steelers, they have one target, and it's this big red bird called the Helsinki Roosters, and that's what they're going for. So that's the biggest obstacle, in my opinion, only because they're a team that is actually primed to do it right away. That week 1 matchup is when anything can happen. And if they do it right away, that's momentum. That might be the difference between a 4-1, 5-0 season for either one of these teams. So the Steelers are my obstacle for the Roosters this year. Going into the season. Yeah, I said it. Okay. I meant it too. I'm with it. I'm wearing red and black. What anything else you think is an obstacle for this team? I mean, there's just really not a lot in general.
Yeah, it's really not a lot. I mean, being the front runners, obviously the favorites. It's not a lot of obstacles besides just being themselves. You know what I mean? Which is not an obstacle. It's just a matter of, like you said. I will say offensively, it's the turnover margin is going to be very, very important this year. Teams that turn the ball over a lot will probably lessen their chance to win the game, 60, 70%, because it's like you said, it's a shortened season. You don't have the ability, like these games are going to be so intense that the team that fumbles the ball 2 times in a game or 3 times in a game, like you're probably going to lose the game if you do that. And that's going to make the difference of, like you said, a 4 or 5 game, win season. And I think, like you said, the Roosters' biggest obstacle, just to add on to the Kuopio thing, like right now, Kuopio is making a lot of moves to prepare for this season. It's hard to say that they're preparing for the Roosters, but we all know outside of the football world, we all know outside of the football world who they want to see this year. And like you said, last year, them beating them the first game had everybody, in awe. And then we get down to the end of the season and some injuries and the quarterback, hurt. It was just like, oh man, like what happened to that first team that we seen, play. So now with 5 games, it's all in the air now. It's up now. Like, so it's just one of those, I can't wait till the season starts just to see how teams will adjust to playing each other after just 1 game.
Just talking in general here, it's going to be crazy to see, like we've been talking about, how teams start and how they finish. 5 weeks, basically 6 weeks from start to finish in your first round of the playoffs, that's just really not a lot of time for teams to change. And we've seen teams go into midsummer and then come out with a brand new roster. Crocodiles, Royals, talking to y'all up north. So this year, that's not really a possibility. They did change the rules where to be eligible for playoffs, players only have to play 1 game. So that could have some implications going down the road. But again, this beginning of the season is the season. There might be some differences in week 1 and week 5 for teams that's seen enough film. But in all reality, like you said, every series, every turnover is going to be so important that every game is playoff football, which means in that week 1, if you don't come with it, you're already behind the 8 ball. And you're probably not going to catch back up. You got to come with it right then. If you lose, it better be because of 1 turnover. It better not be because you had 6 turnovers, you had a delay of game, your team wasn't ready for this match. Like, it better be something that you can change from week to week. If you don't come with it in week 1, that might be the season for you this year. So that's just really exciting. And we keep saying this because it's so true, is that this is going to be a really exciting season in general. Yeah, so moving on. Next, we're going to talk to defensive back turned defensive coach, Niko Kuikka from the Helsinki Roosters. We call him Niko Quick on the show, so let's get into that. All right. We're here with Niko Kuikka, a.k.a. Niko Quick from the Helsinki Roosters, coaching staff now. What's going on, Niko?
All good, all good. Trying to enjoy the summer in Finland.
Right? First,
Yeah.
hey, this is my, what, 16, 17, 18, 19. This is my 5th summer. And boy, I tell you, it's a good one.
It's still good to get some nice weather here.
Yeah, a lot of sun too. But yeah, we'll jump into the interview, man. First question, I'm going to ask you the first one because it's the important one. You're not going to be playing this season. You're going to be coaching. So my question, yeah. Oh, probably. Okay. All right.
You never know. You don't want to rule it out.
That's what I'm talking about. We know that you probably had like an injury situation. We won't talk about that, but with you kind of having to take on more of a coaching role this season, how has like that transition been? You know, you can't really get out there all the time to do the drills and stuff, and now you're kind of helping in the coaching staff. How's that transition been for you so far?
Well, it sucks to be not to be able to join the practice as a player and do the drills and be with the guys more. It's a little bit different, but I like it. First time was like last year when I was with the U19 national team, and I had the first taste of being a coach. It's definitely different still because Pekka, our DP coach, is doing all the drills and all the scheduling and all the thinking the plays through, and I'm just here for the second eyes and trying to give to the players and to the younger ones probably what I can and what I have to offer.
So you're thinking maybe you get into more coaching in the future now? Because I saw you last summer with the U19, like you said, and now you're kind of learning from Pekka how to coach the DB position. You think maybe in the future you could see yourself coaching a little bit more?
Maybe, yeah. I'm actually now coaching U15 and U17 teams in the Roosters organization too for this upcoming summer. So I get some experience from there too. But yeah, Pekka has been great. He's been teaching me a lot, and I'm trying to suck the information and all the things and the mindset he brings, because he's a different kind of DP coach that I've seen in Finland before.
See, now I'm gonna stop the whole interview right here, and if you're listening or you're watching, this is what I'm talking about. This is how you build an organization. You got a great player who's getting introduced to coaching from another great player who is introduced into the coaching system. Pekka was an awesome DB.
Oh yeah.
He became an awesome coach.
Yes.
You're an awesome DB. You're gonna be an awesome coach. I could name a lot of names. I won't name a lot of names because we're short on time. But this is how football grows: is you redevelop and you reinvigorate into the programs. And it's just really good to hear that that's what you're doing, and that we can look forward to that in the future. There's 15-year-old kids who in 4 or 5 years we're gonna be talking about them on the Maple League on this podcast, because we're gonna still be doing this in 4 or 5 years, and they're gonna be talking about you. We're like, yeah, we were talking to him when he first started coaching you kids. I don't know, it's all crazy. It's a big circle of life, man. I love it.
Yeah, I like it too.
My question is, being that you guys are gonna go national this year as far as no imports, do you think it'll be a difference as far as the playmaking on the defense side of the ball?
Well, of course, because I've been thinking it through, because every time we bring an American guy, in the skill position, playing like last year we brought Montes to play corner. Well, of course, he's a playmaker. He has the ability to make big plays out of poor situations. But I still think it's great challenge for us as a team and as a players to just to be a national. Every player is a national player. So, in my opinion, I would love it. 'Cause like last year, the first half of the year, we played all national team. Oh well, we had Cam King come in and mid-season, and then Montes played like 3 games, maybe 4. When we did it last year, why have we can't do it this year?
That makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah, that makes sense. And my other question was, as far as you maybe or maybe not be playing, but everybody knows you're one of the best tacklers. Obviously, one of the most aggressive DBs in the league too. You can play linebacker and everything. If you don't end up playing, how do you see you guys replacing that? Your presence on the field.
That's a tough question, and well, every player is a different player. Nobody can be me, but I think people can bring their own stuff to the table. Like we have young guys like Arttu, and we have Valle and Ben, and then we have Viltsu at the strong position, and we have those 3 guys. Basically, they can all play the free safety position that I've been playing before. But everybody has their own thing that they can bring to the table. Like Arttu is a young, fast kid, and still learning and still developing. And Valle, he has great physique and great mindset, and he's also a great tackler. And Ben, he's probably like the most like me. He likes to tackle, he likes to hit hard, and likes to come down to the box. Like everybody has a different set, and probably we will play it a little different too. Like the coaches see I'm on the field, we can do this stuff, won't bring me back like closer to the box, and maybe with some other guys we won't do it as much as we did it with me. But
I heard you you said R2. What R2 are you speaking
Arttu
of?
Pajarinen.
Yeah, okay. Young Pajarinen. Okay. I'm just kind of trying to figure out the kid's name. I know which one that is. He's good. He was number 29 or something last year?
29 and 27, can't remember.
Something like that. He's
freaky
damn,
number.
damn good DB though.
Yeah, he's gonna be great.
Last thing I wanted to ask you, and damn it, now that you said you've been enjoying the summer, you're probably one of those outside people too, huh? Aren't you?
I'm trying.
Have you been on the Netflix this summer, man?
Of course. Hey.
Okay, good. I check the Netflix every day to see what's popping. I love the top 10 list. What's your favorite Netflix movie this summer, man? That's what I want to know.
Netflix movie?
Or show, whatever. Netflix in general. What's your favorite? Or are there a couple of your favorites from this summer?
Actually, I just downloaded the Prime Video. Now I've been watching the remakes or the airing of the 2.5 Men. That crazy show.
That's a classic, though.
Oh, it is. Funny, yeah.
Wow.
But I've had a lot of time since I had the Achilles injury. I've had a lot of time to watch some old series and some new ones and movies and all that.
That's all I got for you, man. We appreciate you coming on the podcast as usual.
Hey,
wish you and the Helsinki Roosters best of luck this season. Hopefully you can get out there, and if not, you just get a little bit more experience with the coaching. Either way, you're gonna be great, man.
Thank you, and thank you for the possibility to come in.
All right, that was our interview with Niko Kuikka from Helsinki Roosters. Let's get into what the Roosters need to be successful. Q, what are a few things you think are keys to success for this team?
Key success for the Roosters is just for them to find their identity fast when the season starts. Be able to score points just as well as they did in the previous seasons. Getting Miro comfortable in the pocket, making those throws that he normally makes. Just being able to get that momentum going every game. If the Roosters can get that momentum going early and often in these games, they'll continue to be the dominant team they have been over the last year. Other than that, I can also say key to success would be just unity as far as their team. No matter where you at on that Roosters team, your job, you're supposed to do your job. So as long as everybody comes out and know that, hey, I'm holding you accountable to do your job, you're holding me accountable to do mine, and they'll go out there and they'll be that top team that everybody is used to seeing. Other than that, I mean, it's the normal football rules. You know, go out, win, protect the ball, tackle, hit. And the Roosters are a basic team when it comes to that. That's exactly what they preach. You don't have to yell at them. You don't have to make them run after the ball. You don't have to, certain things that you just don't have to do with them. So as long as the Roosters keep their identity of being Roosters, they'll have success no matter what.
Key to success: do what the Roosters do. Or hold up, we go Bill Belichick with it. Do your job, right?
Yeah.
That's Santu is real big on that too. Santu Arrivainen. Damn it, did I say his name right? Santu, you know who you are, man. Do your job. So for me, just a little bit different on keys to success. I think for this Roosters team, a dominant defense is going to be one of the keys that they need to do. Like we said, the team is going to be without imports, and that has its drawbacks, but they have the Finnish talent to play well on both sides of the ball. But we've seen their team, even defensively, in the last few years, they don't use a lot of imports on defense, and they've been able to play against offense loaded with imports and been successful, obviously. And they've been, I want to say, and I could be wrong about this, and if you want to fact check me, send me an email at perfectpervis@gmail.com. The last 3 seasons, they've had the best defense, the number 1 defense. And they've been top in yards, totals, points per game, everything. And even the last 2 seasons, they've normally held teams to less than 20 points a game, which if you play defense, anything less than 20, coach, we expect to win. And that's what the Roosters have to do this year, is not get caught up into that, okay, we want to play offense with these teams, go back and forth, like we've seen teams do before. I'm not going to call them out on this show, but they know who they are. But they're just like, well, we can outscore anybody, so that's what we're going to do. I think for the Roosters defense to be dominant, they'll be able to set the tone in these games and give their offense the time it needs to gel. One thing that, if you know anything about football, is defense, and I say this with the utmost respect to all you defensive players, defense is easy. Defense, your job is to create chaos. Your job is to make the offense do their job. The offense, you have to execute. Offense they have to get the 10 yards. Defense, all I have to do is make sure that he don't get it. If they throw a pass, we just have to either attack the receiver or the ball or the defender. We can do that in multiple ways. Once you run a route, you have to run that route. You can't change the route in the middle and hope that the quarterback knows what's going on. The offense has to execute. The defense just has to mess up that execution. If their defense messes up the execution of their opponents, which they've shown they can do, their offense can have time to jail, because the offense is going to – I don't care what they say about, well, we've been practicing in the offseason. We know we have these guys. This is not the team to play last year. They haven't played in game situations. These receivers haven't been forced into this level of importance at these positions. And so they have to learn how they're going to play as offense. And for them to do that, it's going to take time. And we don't want that time to be spent turning the ball over, like you said, because that could be the difference between a win and a loss. But if that is done, this defense has to be dominant enough that, hey, if you turn it over on offense, that's okay. They're not scoring. We're not letting it happen. It's not going to happen. Try again, We're going to help you so that by the time we do get to week 4, week 5, it's all systems go, and now it's all about having fun. That's one thing I think is going to be the key to making them successful, is a dominant defense. Not a good defense, a dominant defense.
Dominant. Gotcha.
Good defense in Finland gives up 25, 30 points. It is what it is. And again,
you're right.
You can fact check me, but most teams giving up 25, almost 30 points every year in the Maple League, besides the Roosters. And that's what I need them to do this year, is make sure they continue that dominance, even if they don't have 1 import on defense or 2 imports on defense. All right, so next up, we're going to have an interview with the new old head coach for the Helsinki Roosters, Juha Hakala. He's going to be the coach for this next season after a brief intermission or hiatus, or
he like to take every other year off.
Yeah. and if you're listening and watching, as you get older, you'll understand why he does that. You got to take some time sometimes. So let's talk to Juha right now. All right, we're here with Helsinki Roosters head coach Juha Hakala. Welcome back to the show, Juha.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
All right, man, we're going to get right into it because you're a regular on the show anyway. So right into the questions. Q, hit them with that first one.
All right, the first question is something me and Pervis was talking about earlier. Each year, your team has a slogan as far as, winning the championship. You had 7-Up last year. I don't remember what it was for last year, but what's the slogan for this year going into the season?
We have been lazy this year, to be honest. There's no slogan.
Oh, we laid.
Let me pitch my slogan. I'm saying Roosters on cloud 9. Like 9, cloud 9. It's hard to work with 9. So I was thinking.
You can say, I said 9 is fine.
That's a good one too.
I don't know, but 9 is fine. It kind of sounds that we might stop there.
True.
You're right. Yeah.
Look, so I guess this is what we're saying. Roosters, think on it. Let's come up with a slogan. We need something exciting.
We have to do some homework.
Yeah,
we have to do some homework for sure.
Definitely. My question for you, Coach, is obviously winning is a great thing, and you, the Roosters, have done that a lot. So what is the team's motivation for winning another one?
Well,
how do you motivate the guys?
Yeah, every year is a different one, and we always have a bunch of players who have not won it. So we always come to the grind, and since we don't want to be anything worse than the last year was. We always want to improve and get better. So I think the culture of commitment and hard working is just something that we have been able to continue and stick with it. And I don't see us lowering the bar of our expectations, so it kind of comes natural to the guys. It's a culture and tradition thing from my point of view.
Obviously, a lot of people want to play for the Roosters, locally and international players, American players. What's the one thing that you kind of look for when you're thinking about signing imports or just signing local players, period?
Basically, we want guys who wants to play for us and don't come here for selfish reasons, in that sense that they just want to put their stats up or get film or anything like this. We look for guys who want to develop themselves, want to get better, and want to help the team. So we want guys who can build on the team, not just be on the team.
All right, Coach. Question I had for you is, obviously you guys are going into this season with the All-Finnish team, and a lot of other teams are going other routes. I'll say that. But my question for you is, are the Roosters 100% committed to not bringing in any foreign players if there aren't any injuries or anything during the season? Are you guys 100% in on that?
Yeah, nothing is written in stone. Like you have seen every year, all teams develop their roster throughout the season. We don't know what we're going to look like in a month or 2 months. We don't know who's going down and what's going to happen. So, yeah, we are going into the season with the roster that we have with no imports, except for one Scottish guy who lives in Finland. But still, we are confident with the roster that we have at the moment. And if it needs to be fixed or it needs to be filled up, we might do it, but never say never.
My last question is, obviously before every season, each team evaluates what players to bring in, what do they need to change, improve on. Being that you guys have won the last years, what's some of the things that, when you guys meet on the off season, going into the season, what are some of the things that you naturally want to work on as far as your team getting better?
Well, basically, first things first. First, we have to put together the team to be able to start with, in that sense. And I think most of the work during the off season ties up to that we first want to see what guys we're going to have before we start developing anything, because we want to put our guys in the places where they can excel. And if we don't have the guys, obviously we cannot build the system around the guys. So first things first, we have to get the guys. And I think if you look at our off season, and we have been getting few additions to our offense, few additions to our defense on on such points where we're actually lacking like playmakers. So yeah, especially on receivers, we see a good bunch of people with great speed that if we take a few guys away from last season that we needed to get in. So I think we managed well of recruiting during the offseason.
Well, that was quick. That's all we have for you, Coach. You got these perfect answers. You be ready. You got a
head coach
today.
answers. That's those head coach answers right there.
True professional right here. Juha, we appreciate you coming on the podcast again. Good luck to you and the Roosters in this season. And that's pretty much it for us, man.
Yeah, thank you, guys. It's always nice to chat with you guys.
All right. Take it easy, Coach.
Yeah, take care, buddy. Bye.
All right, see ya.
All right, so that was Juha Hakala telling us about how the Roosters are going to prepare for this season. Let's get into some MVP candidates. A lot of talent in Maple League. Roosters have a lot of that talent in the Maple League. So let's start out a couple of names of guys we think might be MVP candidates going into this season. And Q, I'll let you go first.
Oh, I'm going to start with my boy, reigning MVP candidate and winner, Miro Kadmiri. Obviously, everybody's expecting him to play somewhat like he played last year. So 5 games, if he does what he did last year or even anything close, and they get back to the championship, I think it's hands down that he wins a second MVP. So for me, I think it is possible for him. You just never know what you're going to get from Miro, and that's kind of a good thing too. The confidence, the humble personality that he has, but his competitive nature. You throw all that together in a season like this, then you could possibly have another great season for Miro. So my first candidate would obviously be Miro. If I could choose a defensive candidate, a healthy Oko, 5 games, anywhere from 10 to 15 sacks, I think that's MVP worthy from him. Obviously, if Edu was still playing, I probably would have threw Edu in there instead of Oko. But being that Edu's not playing, I'm going to say Oko as far as the defensive candidate.
Yeah, I agree with you too. And it's hard with the Roosters because everybody knows how it goes. To be an MVP, you have to be the best on your team as well as the best in the league. And with the Roosters, it's hard to be the best on this team. There's a lot of really good players. I mean, if you looked at our top 25 rankings, Miro, he won the MVP for us last year, and we had him ranked as, I want to say, like the 3rd or 4th best person on this team. So it's really hard to say who's really the most valuable because you got someone like Miro, he's going to be the quarterback. His position makes him almost more valuable than anybody else on that team. And now you got a team that's not going to have imports to make most of those plays. So the wealth, I call it the wealth of production is going to be spread out on this team on both sides of the ball. Like we talked to Coach Kalle earlier, they have so many defensive backs out there. Those guys are all going to be great. But to say MVP, it's got to be somebody I think you can live, you can't live without. So, I mean, obviously Miro's the choice, in my opinion. I mean, that's probably
the biggest choice.
Yeah. So
the biggest.
And you said Oko, and I agree with that too. If he dominates, he has to dominate this year. And I think in 5 games, that's something he's capable of doing. I'm gonna put an outlier out there that I would just like to see this happen. This is kind of storybook for me. I think Johannes Jauhiainen, the new recruit from Kuopio, I think his game is ready for this. To do a comparison, there was a time a few years ago that people thought, and actually I was one of those believers who thought that, Mikko Seppänen was ready to be the best receiver in the league type situation. And Johannes, he was in Kuopio. Him and Tino always considered a package deal. And we talked about it last year. He was the better of the two. He was the guy that when he got the ball, it was a big play because he didn't get the ball that much. When he comes here to the Roosters, he's playing with a lot of receivers that don't have experience. Like the Roosters receiving core, it's not Maple League experience in the point of they're used to being the guy. Alexander Wasseljeff, I think he's going to do his thing. I still think he's going to be one of the top receivers. But there's that it factor that you got to have. Johannes has it. He has it, and he has a ton of it. And I think he's going to be someone that we can consider similar to the Adam Cornett role that they had the last 2 seasons. And when I say that, I mean more of if you feed him, great things will happen. If they feed Johannes, I see him. Well, we can't compare it to last year because Miro threw for 50, and I could say Johannes would have had 20 of those. So this year, let's just say hypothetically, Miro throws for 20, 25. Yeah, I'm putting that out there. Maybe 5 a touchdown. Johannes come down with 10 to 12 touchdown catches this year. Maybe even more. But I'm saying he catch 10 of those things, and he don't catch 10 of them in the end zone. He catch 10 of them, he worked for his yards and didn't get an end zone. He got to get consideration because on this team, Miro's going to find the hot hand and stick with him because Miro's no dummy. That should be an advertisement. Miro's no dummy, okay? He's going to find the hot hand, and Johannes, he's going to be the hot hand. And the good thing about him is he can play inside, he can play outside, and he's battle-tested against import defenders. He's shown us, and I'm going to keep going back to last year. When he played against the Wolverines, there was one game where he was completely shut down by TJ at corner, and then when they played him in the playoffs and he got to see TJ again, he let loose. He learned from it, and that's something that you can count on going into this season is that he's going to be better than he was at the end of last season. What I've seen this kid do in the 5 years I've been here is get better every year. I can't say that about a lot of players in the Maple League, but I can honestly say Johannes Jauhiainen, and I'm sorry if I'm butchering your last name, man. Johannes will be better this year, and he deserves to be an MVP candidate. So don't make me have to eat my words, man. Get out there and ball. I think he's going to be number 88 this year, too. So that's interesting. An actual receiver number. Let me just put this out here, too, because we got to keep it real on the show. Tino number 88 in Kuopio. He number 88 here. I mean, is there going to be a rivalry? I mean, should we find out who people think is better? I won't say too much about it. All right, we'll let that go. So that's the MVP candidates. So that's it for this episode of American Football in Finland. Hope it was worth the listen and the watch. Any words before we go, Q?
Just good luck to the Roosters. We definitely will be watching.
So if you enjoy the show, please follow us on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, or wherever you get your podcasts. And don't forget to rate us 5 stars as well. Anything less tells us you are a hater. You can follow us on the gram and on Facebook at American Football in Finland. Until next time.
TIF.
We go.
And you know this.
American Football in Finland.